Members of the Democratic Party and leading political figures from all over the United States are meeting in Philadelphia this week, where history is being made. Hillary Clinton is expected to become the first woman chosen to represent one of America's leading political parties to run for president. We begin our coverage with CCTV correspondent Sean Calebs, who joins us from Philadelphia. And Sean, as this Democratic National Convention gets underway in Philadelphia, Hillary Clinton and her people are having to deal with another big controversy. What can you tell us about that, and is it causing problems for her?
Without question, they are dealing with large controversy. One thing that the Democrats wanted to do, in stark contrast to the GOP gathering last week, they wanted their convention here in Philadelphia to be trouble-free. They wanted it to be unified. In fact, the underlying theme throughout all 4 nights of speaking is together. Tonight is called Unified Together, Working Together, Stronger Together, but that is indeed not the case. It happened over the weekend when a massive email leak came to light. Some 20,000 emails, a lot from the Democratic National Committee, that clearly showed the DNC was working with Hillary Clinton's campaign to basically attack and sabotage her chief competitor, Bernie Sanders. Sanders yesterday said he was not shocked by learning this. He was disappointed, and he demanded the ouster of DNC chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Now, at first, Wasserman Schultz dug her heels in and wasn't going to step down, but it became apparent this was gaining steam. So yesterday, she announced she would be resigning after the convention, but she still planned to take on the ceremonial role of coming out, gaveling this convention to order. That all changed this morning on it when there was a news conference, a gathering of delegates from Wasserman Schultz's home state of Florida. She was basically booed loudly and longly, more than 45 seconds. She pleaded for the crowd to settle down, settle down. It was shortly after that it was announced, for the good of the party, she would not be gaveling the convention to order here. One thing that Hillary Clinton did not need was another email scandal. Her entire campaign has been dragged into an email scandal that involved her using a private server while she served as Secretary of State on it. So very disappointing for Democrats who wanted to enter this and leave this important 4-day session unified.
Sean, there's been some polling out on Monday which shows that Hillary Clinton is now running behind her Republican opponent Donald Trump, and she also has this very big trust issue with many voters. How can she turn that around?
Well, she's going to have to do a very good job, and she's going to have all the power brokers here in the Democratic Party lined up behind her, lined up speaking throughout the week. She does have trust issues. She always has. It dates back to when her husband was president of the U.S., 92 through 2000, then her time as a powerful senator from the state of New York, as well as the influential role of Secretary of State, where she traveled the globe. But without question, what has transpired has been disappointing for her. Typically, during a national convention, the GOP or Democratic, what the polls show in the United States is the candidate gets a bump or gets a positive bounce out of the committee. Well, Trump got a very big bounce, coupled with the fact that the Democratic Party has just had a series of missteps over the weekend, and polls now indicate Donald Trump is leading Hillary Clinton by about 3 percentage points. It is not the news that they wanted. Sanders is going to come out tonight. He's going to say we need to be, as a Democratic Party, unified and throw our support behind Hillary Clinton. But a lot of his supporters aren't going to have it. They know Hillary Clinton from a global stage, traveling as a Secretary of State. But Sanders is someone who struck a chord among young liberal voters in the United States this year. He was influential in getting the platform to adopt better wage for entry-level jobs, as well as better health care and access to education. And one thing many young people want, a breakup on Wall Street. So it's going to be interesting to see how Sanders comes out tonight. The Clinton ticket has not yet vetted his speech. Anand?
Sean, very quickly, can you tell us, Hillary Clinton announced her running mate, that's the guy who will become vice president, if she becomes president, Tim Kaine. Very quickly, tell us, what do we know about him?
Timothy Kaine was what a lot of Democrats are calling a solid, safe choice. In fact, Clinton actually called him boring. He's a former mayor, a former governor from the state of Virginia, and also a current U.S. senator. It's important because Virginia is a swing state that could go for the Republican or Democratic Party. Clinton is counting on him to carry that state. One big negative against him, he took about $160,000 in gifts while he was an executive working for the state of Virginia, which was legal as long as he disclosed them, but it's something his competitors are going to pounce on. Anand?
Okay, thanks, Sean. That's CCTV's Sean Caleb's reporting from Philadelphia. And now for much more, joining me from the Convention Hall in Philadelphia is Mary Curtis. She is a columnist for the political publication Roll Call. Also joining us from Philadelphia is Richard Fowler. He is a radio talk show host. And with us from California is Jennifer Merolla. She is a political science professor at the University of California, Riverside. And with me here in the studio is Atiba Madyun. He is a blogger with the Huffington Post, and he is president of the Madyun Group. Welcome to all of you to the show. Mary, let me start with you. The Hillary Clinton campaign, or to be more accurate, the Democratic National Committee, is facing yet another email crisis, as we just heard from our reporter. Is there a risk here that her nomination could be tainted with this crisis?
Well, what you really don't want to happen in any campaign is that there is some kind of problem that somehow feeds into a narrative that your opponents have been trying to build up about you. And in her case, there's always been a narrative about trust issues and honesty issues. Also, Bernie Sanders and his supporters have been saying all along that somehow the system is rigged. And these emails play into it. And though Sanders basically is a politician that realizes it's over, he lost, and he's endorsing Hillary Clinton now, some of his supporters, that started this so-called revolution aren't really ready to give up on it. So it is very difficult to her moving forward. So it's hard to get people to trust you. She is going to probably focus on her issues, that she is a competent person with plans and optimism about America, which would try to contrast her with the message of the Republican campaign. But as we can see, it's going to be very tight, particularly in all of these battleground states.
Richard, will this email leak hurt Hillary Clinton at the ballot box? I mean, as our reporter told us, she's also seen something of a fall in opinion polls over the weekend. Do you think it will hurt her?
Not at all, Anand, and here's why. Because what's going to happen over the next 3 or 4 days is the Hillary Clinton campaign is going to outline a clear platform on how they plan on moving American families forward. What we saw last week was Donald Trump basically bashing Hillary Clinton at every chance he could get. You're not going to see much bashing here for the next couple of days. You're going to hear about a plan to uplift working families, a plan to level the playing field. That's what's going to resound after we leave Philadelphia on Thursday. Don't get me wrong. This WikiLeaks thing and the ousting of Chairman Debbie Wasserman Schultz was awful, but it was the right move. It happened very swiftly. On Friday, this party will be taken over by Donna Brazile, who is a campaign veteran, somebody who I know personally, and I know she's going to be able to get the job done to restore confidence in the Democratic Party, and most importantly, to elect Hillary Clinton as the next president of the United States.
Atiba, Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton's competitor for the nomination, has been telling us for months now that he's been aware that the Democratic National Committee was undermining his campaign. But now that Hillary Clinton is the presumptive nominee, she's almost there. How important is it now for the party to coalesce around her to show strong unity?
It's very important for them to coalesce. The question is the message that's going to come out, is the message that's going to come out right now during this convention, is it going to be a resounding message that connects with voters? Voters showed their apathy for the system, for the established politicians, which is what they saw and why a lot of them were disappointed when they saw Tim Kaine be the pick for vice president. We don't know still what is going to happen. Last week, we saw a convention that was filled with has-been celebrities, with a speech that was given by the candidate's wife that was pulled, that we saw that some of it was pulled from the First Lady's speech in 2008. So we still don't know exactly what's going to happen here. What we do see, at least what I've been seeing, particularly not here in the Beltway, but outside in other parts of the country, and outlying parts in the rural areas where oftentimes candidates don't have the same reach, is that apathy is very, very strong. It's almost to the point where there's nothing that anyone can tell them, nothing that they can see in this particular convention that's going to change their mind to say that Hillary Clinton is the best candidate.
Jennifer, let's put the email rhetoric aside for a moment. This indeed is a significant moment, isn't it? I mean, we have Hillary Clinton. She's going to be the first woman ever to be selected to be a presidential candidate. How significant is that?
I mean, it's huge for the U.S. political context. I mean, we've only had 2 other females nominated as vice president for their respective parties. In 1984 with Geraldine Ferraro, and then with Sarah Palin running with John McCain. So it really is a big moment in American politics, which lags behind many countries, not only with respect to women running for a high executive level office, but also with respect to representation in the Congress. So it is a very big moment for women in politics. And certainly we've heard a lot of talk on the campaign trail that this may shatter some really big glass ceiling for women.
Mary, we've been talking about Donald Trump's jump in the polls over the weekend, that so-called convention bump that he got. He's overtaken Hillary Clinton. How does she regain momentum? How does she win back voter support just in the opinion polls? And one other part to my question, how does the current occupant of the White House, President Obama, and his wife, for that matter, Michelle Obama, how do they help her?
Well, I've reported on Roll Call when Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, President Obama, made their first joint appearance in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it was a very enthusiastic response because he's one of her best surrogates and his approval rating is climbing. And Michelle Obama really has that touch that everyone really relates to her, and particularly everyone's looking forward to her speech. I wrote a preview of it, and she can be a great surrogate, particularly among young voters, African American voters, and really get them excited about turning out. As one of your other guests mentioned, the lineup here is very strong. You do have Bernie Sanders, Michelle Obama, President Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and others, and some really strong politicians and popular folks who will be supporting her. Will they get out on that trail and campaign with her? And as another guest said, just get excited about turning out. So I think that there's still room and time for her to impress folks, and look at the people who are behind her. And Tim Kaine, I think, he calls himself boring, but he has a pretty good story to tell as well.
Richard, we saw some reporting over the weekend, mainly in the political press, that Hillary Clinton will reintroduce herself to the American public at this convention. Now, here we have a politician who's very well known throughout this country, in fact, throughout the world. Why does she have to reintroduce herself?
Well, I think every politician goes through some, movements and shakes, especially at conventions. The job of the convention is to present what the candidate's best foot forward. So what we saw 4 years ago was Mitt Romney talked about being a missionary. His wife talked about him being a husband. What you're going to see in the next couple of days is you're going to see Bill Clinton profile his wife, not as an elected official, but as a wife. And you're going to see Chelsea Clinton, who's introducing her mother on Thursday, talk about what she is as a mother, what she is as a grandmother, and how those qualities will reflect better for the American people if she's elected president of the United States. Now, this is juxtaposition to what we saw last week, where we, instead of hearing about Donald Trump, hearing about his life and hearing about why he was the best candidate for the country, we heard lock her up, or talks of subjecting Hillary Clinton to a firing squad. So this is going to be a very positive message, one that sort of really redefines Hillary to the American people and will help kick off her general election campaign. So we saw a recent CNN ORC poll just today that indicated Hillary Clinton is down. I guarantee you this, outside of this convention, you will see her get a huge bump, and that bump will come in 3 groups. It will come with women, it will come with African Americans, and it will come with Latinos. 3 groups that Donald Trump and the Republican Party struggle with, and that's what's going to be key to winning this election in places like Ohio, in places like Florida, and in places like Pennsylvania.